The river wasn't flowing. It was dragging. Brown water muscled past boulders, throwing spray into the air like torn glass. Above the noise rose a sound that didn't belong to water at all, a raw, chest-deep roar that cracked and trembled and wouldn't stop. On the bank, a mother gorilla the mud with her fists. She leaned out over the edge until the earth crumbled under her toes, then jerked back, panting, eyes white with panic. 20 feet away, half spun in the current, a baby gorilla clung to a ragged log. Tiny fingers slipped, caught again, slipped. Each second the river tried to pry the life from them. "Stay back," Ranger Imani said, one palm raised, her boots braced in the wet grass. 2 rangers flanked her, breath fogging in the cool mist. "Do not crowd her." But the mother didn't look at them. She looked only at her gorilla child, shoulders heaving, breath tearing loose in hoarse grunts that shook the leaves. She slapped the water, then the ground, then beat her chest twice as if to demand the river return what it had stolen. The baby gorilla cried, a thin, rippling sound almost erased by the roar. The log struck a submerged branch and pinned there, the current hammering the tiny body sideways. The infant's head bobbed once, twice. Imani swore under her breath. "Rope. Now." Behind her, Luca sprinted for the kit while Sefu dug a piton into the root of a fig, hands moving fast, practiced. The river kept shouldering past, indifferent. The mother leaned out again, one foot sliding, toes clawing for purchase. She could not swim that torrent. She knew it. She roared anyway, a sound so full of refusal it felt like prayer. "On my count," Imani said, looping the rope across her chest. "We go to her. We go with her." No one argued. The forest, for once, had fallen utterly silent, listening for a miracle. The rain began again, soft at first, then cutting. It flattened the long grass and streaked the gorilla's back with silver. The baby's cries were weaker now, each one swallowed by the rush of water. Imani gripped the rope with both hands, feeling the fibers bite into her palms. "She's not attacking," she said almost to herself. "She's asking." The male gorilla on the opposite ridge beat his chest once, a thunderous warning drum, and retreated 2 paces into the mist. The message was clear. This was her battle, not his. "Ranger Imani, the current's brutal," Luca called over the noise. "We lose footing, we're gone." "I know." She tested the knot, double-checked the anchor around the fig root. "But if we wait, the cub's gone first." A low bellow rolled from the mother gorilla's chest. She rocked back and forth, torn between fear and instinct, her massive hands clawing at the earth. When she turned toward Imani, their eyes met through the mist. Dark, wild, and unbearably human. Something in that stare burned away the hesitation. Imani threw the rope across her shoulder. "Tie me off. Keep tension. If she moves toward me, let me go." Luca hesitated. "You'll drown out there." Imani's answer was a grim half-smile. "Then make sure someone's filming." With that, she stepped into the river. The cold punched the breath from her chest, the current nearly tearing her sideways. Behind her, the rope snapped tight, holding her just long enough to regain balance. The gorilla leaned forward, watching every movement, muscles trembling. For a suspended instant, it felt as if the river, the ranger, and the animal shared one fragile purpose: defying the flood. And then Imani took another step deeper, until the water swallowed her waist and the forest closed in behind her. The current clawed at Imani's legs like a living thing. Mud boiled beneath her boots, sucking them down. Each step forward was a battle against the invisible weight of the water. Her breath came in shallow bursts. The rope jerked tight around her waist, cutting into her ribs. "Hold it steady," she shouted over the thunder of the current. Luca and Sefu leaned back together on the bank, their boots slipping, knuckles white on the rope. The forest around them seemed to hold its breath. No bird calls, no wind, only the noise of the river. Ahead, the baby gorilla clung to the half-submerged log, its tiny hand slipping again. The water surged, submerging the cub's head. Imani lunged forward. "Hang on, little one," she gasped, though she knew it couldn't hear her. That was when the mother moved. The great gorilla rose to her full height and bellowed, pounding her chest once before dropping to all fours. She plunged halfway into the torrent, the water exploding around her thighs. Imani froze. If the gorilla came any closer, the river could drag them both. But the mother stopped. She extended one hand, open and trembling, toward Imani. Not in threat, an offering. Imani's chest tightened. She nodded slowly. "I know what you're saying," she whispered. "Let's get him together." She took another step, the water up to her chest now. Her fingers brushed the log, slippery with moss and foam. The cub's hand twitched weakly. "Almost there," she murmured. Then, with a snap like a gunshot, the log shifted, spinning violently. The baby vanished beneath the surface. Imani dove without thinking. The rope jerked. The mother roared, the sound echoing through the forest like grief itself. And for a heartbeat, no one could see if either of them would surface again. The river swallowed everything: light, sound, thought. Cold closed over Imani's head like a fist. Her eyes stung from the grit. She could barely see more than flickers of brown and gray. Somewhere ahead, a small shadow flailed in the murk. She kicked hard, the rope yanking against her waist like an anchor. Her hands swept through the water until her fingers brushed fur. The baby gorilla, limp, sliding deeper. Imani caught its arm, dragging it tight against her chest. She could feel the faintest twitch of movement, or maybe it was her own pulse hammering. The current slammed them both sideways into a submerged branch. The impact knocked the air from her lungs. She twisted, forcing herself to angle upward, fighting for the shimmer of light above. Her chest burned. The world narrowed to a tunnel of green-brown blur and pain. Then, something massive moved nearby. A dark form plunged into the water from the bank, sending up a shockwave that reached her even underwater. The mother gorilla. Through the swirling chaos, Imani glimpsed her, a vast silhouette fighting the torrent with impossible strength, her arms cut through the water like oars, her face just beneath the surface, teeth bared in pure will. She reached for Imani, not the cub, not the rope, but Imani herself. The ranger felt her body lifted by a surge of current, and then suddenly, a hand. The mother's grip locked around Imani's shoulder, dragging both woman and cub upward. They burst through the surface in an explosion of water and sound. Air ripped back into Imani's lungs with a ragged gasp. She clutched the cub close, coughing violently. On the bank, Luca shouted her name. The mother roared once more, not at the humans, but at the sky, as if daring the storm to take one more thing from her. Imani collapsed against the muddy slope, one arm still wrapped protectively around the baby gorilla. Her lungs burned, her pulse a thunder in her ears. The cub coughed weakly, expelling water, its small chest trembling but alive. Luca splashed down to meet her, pulling at the rope. "You're insane," he panted, eyes wide. "You actually—" "Still breathing," Imani interrupted, voice raw. "That's all that matters." But her gaze wasn't on Luca. It was on the mother gorilla. The massive primate stood only a few feet away, chest heaving, water streaming from her thick fur. Her dark eyes were locked on the ranger's arms. On the cub she'd nearly lost. Every instinct in Imani screamed to back away, but something deeper urged her to stay still. Slowly, carefully, Imani lifted the infant and set him down on the mud between them. The mother's nostrils flared. She stepped forward, one hand sinking into the soft ground. The world seemed to hold its breath. The mother reached down, scooped up the trembling cub, and pulled him to her chest. The baby gave a faint cry that turned into a wet squeak before burying its face in her fur. For a moment the storm softened. The wind fell still. Imani felt the tension bleed out of the air, replaced by something raw and sacred. The gorilla looked at her again, eyes wide with intelligence and gratitude. No words, no gestures. Just a single shared heartbeat between two mothers protecting their own. Then, with surprising gentleness, the gorilla turned, carrying the cub toward the shelter of the forest. She paused once at the tree line, glanced back through the rain, and vanished into the green. Luca exhaled shakily. "You think she knew what you did?" Imani smiled faintly. "No," she murmured. "I think she remembered."